All right, what's going on, everybody? I am Charles Smith III, the host of the T-Shirt Millionaires Live Show. And today, this is an interview, y'all, that I've been anticipating forever. She don't know this, but I look at her as like a mentor, almost like a big sister for real. I admire her from afar. Today, we have Kalilah Wright. She is the owner and founder of a brand called Mess in a Bottle. I'm sure that so many of y'all know about it, but if you don't know, today you're going to truly find out what this brand is about and what she is about as an entrepreneur. I'm extremely excited to have this conversation. What I'm going to do is go ahead and hit this intro video, and then we're going to come right back and have a conversation with Kalilah.
Build something black. Let it drip with glory. Build it in love, like our ancestors' story. Bring out the beauty of what's sacred and kind. Bear your black brilliance as you prosper and climb. Build something black. Let us rise up together. All that we build is black beyond measure.
All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm Charles Smith III, the host of the T-Shirt Millionaires Live Show, and today I'm excited to talk to Kalilah Wright, the owner and founder of Mess in a Bottle. Kalilah, so I was in a barbershop probably about a couple months ago. And I was in the chair and they were watching, I don't know, they were watching Snowfall or something. And that video came on. And I know her, so I wanted to make sure I add that clip. But please let the people know who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Charles. My name is Kalilah Wright, and I am the owner of Mess in a Bottle. So Mess in a Bottle is a T-shirt company, and we put messages on T-shirts, and they come packaged in a reusable bottle.
That's dope. That's dope. I love it. I love it. So I appreciate you being here, Kalilah. I told you prior to us coming on and having the conversation, like so many people admire you, right? And I'm one of them, right? I remember back when I left my full-time job, probably around June of 2017. And this is before I was selling T-shirts or anything with T-shirts. And basically, I saw a video. You were walking around the track and you were talking about how you left your job and you had said something motivational. And that's how I ended up figuring out about you. And then later on, I got more in tune with the brand. But I want to know, like, how did this whole T-shirt thing start for you? Like, what was the beginning and what was the transition from your full-time job?
So, as I've said, I'm an architect and I'm a designer by trade.
Yeah.
And I don't think I knew what I was creating and developing. And I was working at my full-time job as an architect. And during the time, so in Baltimore, Freddie Gray, an African-American male, he died while he was in police custody. And so, that really prompted a lot of riots in my Baltimore City neighborhood. I would come to work and, people would say, how do you feel? Are you okay? Do you, being one that I was like one of the only Black people in my department. And so, for me and at the time I was going through a really bad divorce, there was just a lot going on. Things were a mess. And I started out really creating baby furniture and I was doing baby furniture, but then I realized it would take me so long. It's so many products. There's so many, so I finally decided, I said, you know what, let me try my hand at T-shirts, because I would pass the T-shirt shop in the mall and the line was down the block and it would be a guy, and all he would create is like rest in peace T-shirts.
Right.
So I was like, it gotta be some money here. He must be selling something other than T-shirts.
Word.
So I went and I was like, let me see what machines he got, what he using. And when I went home and I saw that he was charging, $25, $30 for one T-shirt, and I started to add up like how much just the sheets cost, and it was just a printout and a put on and a press, and I was like, I could do that. Yeah. And so I went ahead and decided to start my own company. And I mean, I don't really tell the story too much about my full-time job, but I think that they knew it was time for me to go, and I knew it was just it was premature in the sense of I literally was probably officially started Mess maybe a month or two before I left my full-time job. And it wasn't about money. It was more about time. And I just knew for myself, like, I needed change. I needed something different. And I really did feel like I wasn't living out my purpose. And, and I don't think that I was in a space where I was using my talents to the best of my ability. And also I wasn't feeling appreciated in architecture. And it wasn't the company's fault, but it was just architecture, a white male dominated field, where they didn't, see me as an architect. They didn't respect me as an architect. So I really went on to just do my own thing and, and feel fulfilled.
That's dope. I love it. And I think those are the sentiments that I heard from that video I watched years ago of you talking about corporate, because it was the same thing for me. I was in corporate finance for like 9 years, and I just felt like my soul was dying. Like every day I walked in there, I was like, there's got to be more to life, right? Tell me, but it was hard for me to make the transition too. For you, was it difficult? Did you kind of wonder or have a fear of, if I get out here on my own, I can make it happen? Like, kind of what was your thought process when you made that jump?
Well, I told myself, I was like, you got 1 year. I was like, you got 1 year to decide what you want to, to make this thing, make it work. And so I said, if you make money from it, you got another year. You could buy yourself another year. But I said, if you don't, and if it's not going to work, you got to go back to work, And I mean, the first year of of me going out in entrepreneurship and sort of going out on my own, I always joke and say, like, I wandered around aimlessly for at least 8 months, I was just like, how does this work? What am I supposed to do? How, and I really wasn't sure. I had no idea. I didn't know where I belonged. I drove Uber for a couple of months trying to make money and realize, all right, I'm like, I could sell more shirts than this.
Yeah.
And so, I did a lot of things just to try to make it work and figure it out. And then, a year passed by and I was like, I think I got it. And, and I just kept on going from there.
That's dope. Yeah, I delivered newspapers. I was like in a 6-figure corporate career. I got to a point I hit rock bottom, and I was delivering newspapers for like $200, $300, $400 a week just to try to make it work. But I was, wandering around, aimlessly as well, just trying to figure it out and get my footing. So that's really good to hear. So tell me this, what about the bottle? Because when I was looking at like your previous Instagram, and I saw like you got the plastic bottles now, but it seemed like you had some type of glass bottle. Was that the idea that you had at the very beginning? Did you use the bottle like once you started?
Very from the first day, messing a bottle, I started it with a bottle. Like, so I went to IKEA and I saw these like carafe, juice bottles. And, I knew it had to have a wide mouth. And so I guess that's the architect and designer in me. So it's just like the bottles would funnel and sort of shape, and so I just knew. And then I was very impressed by like Voss water bottles and and so I just kept on thinking about how can I get a t-shirt in a bottle. It was something I never saw before. I just, again, packaging, I never really, even though I did architecture and I worked for an apparel retail company in architecture, form, I didn't have any true like packaging design experience. But I just really knew that I wanted the t-shirt. So I have this picture and it's so old, but it's literally like 6 bottles. They all had different color t-shirts. And then I put like Skittles in them, jelly beans, because I had the idea of it being a reusable bottle. And I put carrots in them as well, because I was like, what are people going to really use these bottles for? And so that was like my initial thought process, that it was going to be this t-shirt with a bottle, with a reusable bottle that people could use for whatever they want. So yeah, they were glass. I mean, and I probably did that for a year. And so, it was funny because people still send me messages and they're like, I have the original bottle. And literally like the glass bottles, I used to cut vinyl and like hand impression all of the bottles that left out. And I even at the top, it was a cork top. And so I would even take like, they had like a metal, like, and draw the logo in each bottle top.
Oh, wow.
So, that's the start. That was in my living room. That was the real beginning. So, yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. Humble beginnings, just to see how, the vision developed over the years. Tell me this, because you've accomplished so much. Was your vision to do all the things that you've done up to this point? Did you see these things at the very beginning, or did you kind of surprise yourself as you went through the process?
I mean, I would say I'm definitely surprised, but not surprised that it's happening. Just surprised that like it's here and I'm feeling it. And it, because I think all through my life, like ever since I was literally a toddler, and like, people used to tell me from like 4 or 5 years old, like, you're something special, and I could see you being like something where people like, I don't know if it's just prophets over the years, like they would tell me, they're like, we see you being something where your name is on billboards, like where you are gonna be. And I'm like, really? Like, and I didn't know that. I didn't know what my talents were. And I think through the years growing up, I honestly felt like there was always like, so even when I would hit road blocks and stumble and cry, and I'll be like, what am I supposed to be doing? Why is this not happening? I didn't know what it was, but now that it is here. And so like, it feels amazing, because I'm like, oh, this is what all the tears was for. This was all the, trials and tribulations. This is why it was so difficult. Or you felt misunderstood, or you tried to fit into a box that you couldn't fit in, like, because it wasn't your box. Like, that's not where you was meant to be.
Wow.
So, but I mean, I know when I left my full-time job, like I knew I was going to be okay. When? I didn't know. But I definitely knew that I was going to be okay. And so like, I remember like my boss asking like, he was like, how are you going? Like, what are you going to do? Do you have savings? Do you have, and I was like, and he knew my son was only 2 at the time. And I was like, I'll be okay.
Wow. Wow. Just like kind of that trust and that whole faith in the process.
Yeah.
And I love what you kind of talked about, the stumbles and the tears and, just kind of the hard times. It's almost like it was preparation, right? To bring you to where you are and make you so you were able to handle everything that comes your way these days. And so I love that. So tell me this, Kalilah, like at the very beginning, was it just you? Were you kind of like the one pressing the shirts, mailing stuff out? It was just kind of like you. And how long did you do that?
For at least a good 2 years. I got stories for days. Like I can't, and you just spark. I'm like, I gotta write this book. I keep on saying that. And then I fall off. Like literally, there's a time where glass bottles, the whole package, me and my son, he's on my hip, an IKEA bag full of packages is on my shoulder. I'm running across the street. The whole bag falls and a big ass tractor trailer runs over the whole package.
Oh no, that's crazy.
And I have post office stories for days, because like the post office closes at 7 p.m. and my goal was at 6:59.49.
Yeah.
I was running into the post office every day to drop packages off. Like the postal people clapped for me when they see me now random, because they don't really see, because I don't go, they be like the postal people are the ones who know my story. Because they used to like watch my son, he crying in the corner, he ready to go home, and they like, all right, just relax, your mom's almost done. Like the postal people remind me of like how far I've come, because they're like, when they didn't see me for like a while, they like, you got somebody picking up your packages now? And I'm like, I do. And so, it's I did that for about 2 years, 2.5 years, until I, finally realized, I was like, Dag, I can't really do this by myself anymore. And like I posted on Facebook, like, it started out like, can anybody help me? And this one young man, he was like my first like employee, and he helped me kind of, get my foot and get started. And then, I went on to have a shop and, other employees, and and now we have like probably around 16, 17 people working for Mess in a Bottle.
That's amazing. I love just hearing like the transition and where you came from. And we need that book. We need a book. We need a documentary. We need something. So you got to put that together for sure.
Like the whole story is deep. The whole story it's a lot. I think I don't even tell a quarter of the story, and people say I should share a lot, and I really have not told half of the story at all. So
right. Well, one thing that I know, Kalilah, is for everything that you have shared thus far, like I said, you inspire so many, and whenever the time is right, definitely put that out there, because you're going to change so many lives. And there's so many like things that you've been through that, you know, people like myself or people even just at the very beginning stages, they haven't come up against. And that'll be kind of like a roadmap as they continue to travel their journey, just hearing your story. So I think that's amazing. So tell me this. I know at one point in time, as I was, you know, I heard from your story, you had like your first retail shop, right? And then something happened that was kind of like, you know, tragic while you had that shop. Can you talk about, you know, moving into that and kind of what was going on at that time?
So it was I mean, we sold out of it, but I called it like, you know, the shop. And so the shop was our studio space. And so I deemed it as more of just our maker space. And it was a really small shop. And, you know, I think the funny part, I laugh about it all the time, because where the shop is located, it's in the hood, but because I'm from the hood and I'm a Black woman, I'm like, the hood people going, they know
they gonna rock with you for sure.
Yeah, you know, we together. But, you know, I think again, the reality of it is, one, I'm not a local Baltimore native. And two, even though I said hi to the locals, you know, they didn't know me. They didn't, you know, they probably didn't know what I was. And I think maybe to them too, it was just another, you know, business. And so unfortunately I was in an armed robbery in Baltimore, you know, in my shop. And it was definitely a very devastating experience. But one that, you know, I think that it was something that I, you know, also had to realize what my strengths are as well. You know, I think that the robbery, it definitely showed me, because I was like, you know, ready to not do mess in a bottle anymore. And you know, it was really traumatic. Like it took me maybe a good year or two to stop like feeling so fearful in spaces. But you know, I think that it's one of those things where I think if you from the hood and you understand hood stuff, you realize hood shit gonna happen. And so, you know, it was funny. Like I said, I laughed because there was a 7-Eleven across the street. And I remember when I first moved in, they were like, they're leaving. And I was like, why y'all moving? And they said robbery. But again, I thought it was like kids coming in, stealing chips. And they're like, no, robbery. And I was like, oh, like, you know. But again, I'm not really thinking that, you know, my little shop, especially like being open to the community and the neighborhood. But again, you know, like I think that at the end of the day, and maybe even now, is the good lesson too, is like, you know, you can't ever get too comfortable in business and anything. Like the robbery, like to me, I just look at the robbery as like, yes, it was traumatic. It was messed up. It was something that, you know, I don't wish on my worst enemy because of the trauma. But, you know, I think that when you outside of like those things, I just look at it as one of those things where, you know, like the rug could get pulled from any of us, and in various different ways. Like it can be the death of, you know, like your partner in the business or whatever it is, or you get ill. Like there's just so many things that can happen. And so, you know, for me, I probably cried for a good month, and I was just like, all right, what you want to do? You want to, you know, like you have a choice. You could either stop, you could, you know, do something different, and you know, and I just was like, all right, let's start again. And so, you know, and I think that just shows it depends on like sort of what you know, your resilience, and you know, and what you want from life, and how you choose to get back up. You know,
I love it. Well, I appreciate, you know, you being transparent and, you know, sharing that and being willing to, you know, go over through that story. And I just think that it's powerful that, you know, you overcame it. And like you talked about, you were resilient. I have a question for you, Kalilah. Where does your transparency come from? Because you are one to, you talk about the good times, but I know for sure Kalilah's gonna keep it a buck. She's gonna keep it 100 and talk about the trials and the tribulations that happen to business, and that helps people so much. Where do you get the boldness or the confidence to kind of shine the light on the shadows of business and what you've went through on your journey?
So I think what people don't know, you know, and so it's a gift and a curse. So for most of my life, I've always been like sort of this, like, I guess, transparent, like, you know, so I've always been this open. So, you know, back in like my AOL days, I used to have like away messages, and they used to be like these, you know, full statuses that used to be telling all the business. And so, you know, my family, or even friends, like, you know, people used to be like, oh my gosh, you are telling too much. This is too much. And it would, you know, it definitely is a curse where, and sometimes, you know, it definitely did hinder or hurt, you know, relationships or whatever. But like you said, it has helped a lot of people, women specifically, or, you know, so I think now as I've gotten older, it was sort of like finding the balance between the two, you know, and I talk about this even on my podcast. Like, I've learned, you know, like, to still quote unquote be like, so as I said before, I might be transparent, but you're still only getting, if that, a quarter of like what's the real deal, you know, with some things. And I'm doing that more now to protect myself, you know, as I'm more learning how, you know, within a house, you bring people into maybe the foyer, you bring them into like the front vestibule, but I don't need to bring them all the way into back closet. And that's what I was doing, you know, and sometimes that could be damaging for you, or, you know, like, there's just other areas that I'm learning to be a little bit more protective over, and kind of watching, you know, what doors I open up for people to be able to see inside, because, you know, we live in an era where there's a lot of opinions. But to answer your question, why I think that the transparency for some, you know, it works so well, because I think that, you know, the era and the times that we're living in, everybody is quick to share the glory, and they're not quick to share the things that they fail at. So me being my normal self, like, people are like, oh my gosh, she shared. Like, I had a friend who literally told me, you know, don't tell anyone that you're broke, or don't say that you don't have any money. And, you know, and my mom is like this, like, she drives me crazy. Anything I write, you know, on Facebook or online, she's my Facebook friend, she's in my tea group, she's quick to be like, don't tell that. Or, you know, and I'm more like, if it's for me, it's for me. Like, I'm not fearful of, you know, sharing with hopes that someone has a voodoo doll, you know, because they must be throwing that doll out the freaking window now, because I know people done tried where I'm at, you know. And so, you know, for me, I continue to walk with that kind of faith, and just knowing, like, the things that are for me are for me. And honestly, like, I don't think anybody could stop this of what I got. Not now. Like, that I already have too much within me, that I've already had to jump over fires, hurdles, hoops, ran 50 miles in a day, you know, like, I've done all of that. So it's just like, I don't know what they're gonna do to stop this. So
right. It's battle test. You battle test it, but, you know, it's just clear as day. You got, you know, a higher power, looks like, on your life, and guiding you, pushing you through, and protecting you, and allowing you to really elevate. And so, you know, I love it. I think that's amazing. So what about mentorship, Kalilah? Like, because you even mentioned, and you talked about a few things as far as, you know, you like this wisdom of kind of, you know, what to share and what not to share. And, you know, that might have come from experience, but even just throughout your journey, have you gotten mentors to kind of help you and guide you as you've elevated?
Definitely. I mean, I would just say, you know, and it's not even in a form of people like in the t-shirt industry or business, but, you know, people like Lovey, or people like Nicole Walters, or, you know, Bazoma St. John, like, they're just Black women who are like, come here real quick. Don't say that online, you know, like, that's the, or, you know, like, hey, let me tell you what company I've used to do my bookkeeping, or here's a good business manager that can get you right here, you know, like, things like that. And so that stuff has really been, you know, really helpful for me, where people are like, look, call this person and get this done, change that, you know, be careful when you do this, and, you know, and stuff like that, really. So even now for myself, I try to do the same. Like, you know, if I could pull somebody up, share some information, give some knowledge, I'm like, what? Why not? It's not going to stop me from nothing. So
I love it. Well, yeah, I think that's great. And for everybody, like, you know, Kalilah talked about, you know, mentorship, having people in your corner, just to even provide resources or connections. I think that's an amazing thing that can help you along your journey. Real quick, I want to just give a quick shout out to Kellen Blake. They ended up sending a super chat. Kellen, I'm truly appreciative. Thank you so much for sending that over. And then it also looks like D.E. Blaze, appreciation, gratitude, Charles Smith III, true inspiration and motivation. So I just wanted to acknowledge y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I truly appreciate that. So Kalilah, like from the time you started the brand, I know you said for the first couple of years you might have been doing things yourself, but when did it click for you to where you were like, okay, this thing that I ended up starting and trying, like this is real now. Like I see a totally different level. And I don't just visualize it, but I'm starting to see that transition like in real life. Like when did that happen for you? Or was there a time, or was it just kind of over time?
No, I mean, I think one of the big moments that happened was Lena Waithe. She wore, my t-shirt on the red carpet of like a BET Awards. And like she was voted like best dress, best this. And it was just like such a big deal. It was publications featured her. And I was just like, wow, like the fact that she wore a t-shirt and like people, really rocked with her. I was just like, this is powerful. Right. And so I think that really, put me in a space where I was just like, all right, this thing can really be something. And then just as I had more, celebrities, recognition, people, strangers who you just wouldn't even think is your ideal customer, wear the message, like things like that, little girls, so I've just had a lot of moments where, especially in the beginning where you just think no one's looking, no one's watching, no one, so the one shirt that Lena Waithe wore was keep creating dope ass shit until someone notices. Right. And like that was a shirt that I created when I felt like no one was hearing me and no one was giving me validation of being like such an amazing, like designer or creator. And so like even now when I'm featured in a lot of these things, they're like fashion designer. And so, I'm like, even for myself, just even stepping outside of like, I don't see myself just as a t-shirt designer. I see myself not even a fashion designer. I see myself as a designer and a creative. And so, to have like my peers and people, sort of giving me these roses and they're like, wow, you're doing it. It definitely means a lot. So I think those moments just make me realize it's like, it's not just this thing that you dreamt of, it's actually something happening in real life.
Yeah, that's for sure. I love that. I think that's dope. When I guess when the people order like, these big names, did they order directly from the store? And did you like see the order come in or you see it on the label and you like, oh my God, I can't believe it?
Yeah, I mean Serena Williams, her like her people ordered and like I didn't know that like her manager ordered. I didn't know who it was, but I saw like a Beverly Hills address and I was like, and and so I think that a lot of them they come through the site, they don't want handouts, they don't want like free merch, they want, they just want you to actually they want to order and they want to support, and I think it's important.
I think that's cool. I love that. I love that. So tell me about this, because you have like all these like witty sayings, right? You have like great things and great words and quotes and stuff that you put on your shirts. Where does that inspiration come from? Like, is it just part of your natural creativity, or do you do things to kind of stay in tune and generate creativity? How does that work for you?
It really is effortless and kind of like natural. That's and I just like sort of let it come to me. And like, and that's like one of the moments where something comes and people are like, I say it out loud and they're like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right. And I shouldn't be building buildings. Cause I'm like, they sure weren't saying that to me, with building design. So I think that, yeah, I just let it naturally come to me. I mean, it's about what's happening in the world and around us, Right. So, yeah.
So when you find like, when you kind of think about something, you might be at home or at work or just doing something. Do you like write it down, or does it you be like, oh, let me go ahead and put this on a shirt now or send it over to the designer? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, at one point I used to just like create right away, put it out, and that was that. I think now I'm in a space because there's a team and there's approvals and not really approvals, but we're at a place where I'm trying not to overwhelm the staff and the team. So, we're doing a good job where if something comes in, we're kind of going through a vetting process. Does it make sense to put it out right now? Do we have enough? Like now this is the business side of it, the logistics side of it. Do we have enough, staff and support?
It's just funny how, you go from a place you were doing it on your own, and it's kind of like you can go to market so fast.
Yeah.
And now you have this process, which, it's a good thing, like you said. But I think that's just cool to just get an insight on, how it works for you and where those ideas come from, idea to shirt. So I got something real quick, Kalilah, I want to ask you about. If I come over to this tab, like this is a shirt or this is a jacket that, I've seen on a lot of your posts, and, what I'm saying, it's something that has a powerful statement for women. Where did this idea come from, and how did you create it, and kind of what was the inspiration behind it?
That's a great question. I don't know if anybody ever really truly asked me that. So my brother, who is also a creative and designer, Ron Bass, he had like a signature, like he writes a lot of stuff about with Queen. And then I have a really good friend as well that has a lot of he has a powerful statement jacket. And it's his brand is called OYA brand. And so only in America. And basically he has this, and it says like God was born in Brooklyn. And so he has this jacket, and it's so dope. And so, I knew that these men had like these signature messages that to me were very impactful for their businesses. And so I was just so I kept on racking my brain, what kind of message and thing can I create as a queen, as a woman, to sort of dominate in this king's world almost. And so I came up with the phrase queen, don't be afraid to rule like a king. And so the reason that message also came about was and what the message truly means to me is, to me, we live in a very male dominated world. We value the player of, we value the king. And so I just know as a woman, I shouldn't be afraid to rule what a king, sometimes there's a negative connotation if a woman rules like a king. And so I wanted to tell women to not be afraid to rule like a king, that it's okay to.
I love it. Yeah, I'm sure. And did that jacket, did it just kind of hit when you put it out there? Did it have a complete response?
For sure.
That's dope. That's dope. I love it. Sounds good. Okay. All right. So I think that's dope. When it comes down to your confidence these days, what do you do to stay confident? What do you do to be what I'm saying, I got this when I run into hard times or roadblocks? Are there anything or any practices that you have that, just keep you sharp and say, what, I can do this, Kalilah?
I run. I'm a runner.
Yeah.
Not by choice, but it's just one of the things that I've adapted that has definitely moved me in the right direction. It gives me time to sort of think. It gives me time to, sort of breathe as well. And so, I kind of run on the days where I feel like things are super chaotic. I go back to the drawing board and I try to sort of start again. So that's kind of my technique.
Okay, I like that. I think that's dope, getting out and getting some exercise. I know everybody has kind of their own thing, but I think that's really good. So with that being said, Kalilah, question for you. I know, I guess from the beginning, you were kind of doing the production and heat press. Tell me about the production method, right? Because right now I know you do everything in-house. Did you ever think about outsourcing or screen printing, or kind of what made you change or use the production method that you have right now as far as making it in-house? How did that work out?
Yeah, I mean, we started, one way, and we kind of continue to do it this way. We are now, I think that the more you think about it, is just it's going to get to the point where you can't do it in-house unless you're hiring a huge production team, big space. And, so I'm just learning and evolving. And I think, the true answer to that is, I think that every stage that you sort of get to in your business and t-shirt company, I think that it forces you to really decide, do you need to change production? can you stay in this space? Can you get bigger? Do you need to get even bigger than that? And so I think that's where we are now. So we definitely are going to be changing very soon, like some of the things that we are doing, and like, you know, and just able to help us focus in other areas.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So so when you started hiring the team, Kalilah, and you said, okay, you know, I can't do this on my own anymore. I need to make sure I need to get other people. Did you hire for specific positions? Did you hire for your weaknesses? How was that when you first started bringing people on?
You know, I got the advice to hire for all the things you didn't want to do anymore.
Okay.
So, you know, like production was one for sure. Customer service was another for sure. You know, so like those were things that I was like, okay, I gotta outsource and get somebody in here and to help me with those areas. So that's kind of where it started. And, you know, as it evolves, it'll be like, all right, well, what things, you know, where's it pushing me that I still need, you know, more staff to help me do this. And so that's kind of how, you know, hiring came about with who we hire for what.
Right. I think that's dope. So I'm gonna tell you, this is the honest thing with me. Last year, it was a blessing in the midst of the pandemic. I mean, you know, a lot of great things happened and I experienced some growth in my business. But one of my big issues last year was me running the business mainly by myself towards the end of the year and really feeling burnt out. And I had really struggled with having that mindset of moving from solopreneur to a boss and to somebody who's like, I need to bring people on. When it came down to, you know, just managing and teaching processes or, you know, figuring out what to pay people, those were all different things that I struggle with, right? And I'm still working on figuring out how to develop that skill set so I can move into the next stage of my businesses. Did you deal with any of those doubts or struggles at all? Kind of, you know, mentally, what was your transition?
I mean, yeah, I think that I see the bigger picture and there's just so many other areas that I want to dabble in and do and, you know, focus in. So I think for me, it wasn't too much of, you know, that I needed to get my mindset, you know, together, but it was just like relinquishing control. And I think that I'm learning even now that the vision may change, you know, things may change. So like, you know, what you see and how you think you see it, it definitely may change. And I think being open to that and being able to pivot and, you know, things like that, I think that is, you know, like I want to make sure I pay attention to that because everything is not going to be how, you know, when you first started or how you envision things to be. So.
Absolutely. No, I totally understand. And I think, yeah, that's wisdom and great advice. And appreciate you sharing that. How was the pandemic for you? How was 2020 at the very beginning? Did you feel like, you know what I'm saying, the world was just going to end? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you feel? How was your year last year?
So, you know, funny enough, because again, I run and I think that it was just more like, all right, get up in the morning, run every day, come home, try to deal with homeschooling, you know, so I like created this sort of bubble in this space. And I think that I was a little ignoring, like trying to ignore it. Like, I'm like, I don't know what's going on outside, but I'm just going to run and, you know, try to be as normal as possible until it was like right on my doorsteps. And it was like, you got to, you know, feel this thing that's happening. So I think the pandemic itself, it was definitely, like you said, growth opportunity. But I think it definitely, just like the rest of the world, it showed what places you were weak in and what things that, you know, you were struggling in and, you know, and all of that. So I do think that it was heavy, like it was, and it put you in a real position that you had to solve stuff. So I think it was make or break. But I think that, you know, right now, especially where we are, I was looking back at just some videos of me, you know, either crying or, you know, being on social. But I'm like, it makes it that much more worth it right now because I'm like, you know, you survived the storm, and this is what storms look like. Storms are gonna break you. They are gonna force you to rebuild your house, maybe. And it's like, you know, but right now it's just like, all right, cool. You have another chance. Like, this is just what life is and what life is truly about.
That's dope. I love it. And I think everybody, please, like, take that advice. Look at, the things that Kalilah is talking about and what she's been through, right? And how she's persevered. And she talks about these storms, but like you said, that's what it's about. And she's still able to build and grow and develop from that. And I just think that that's something that everybody needs to pick up. Now, tell me about your little man. I think I saw a video of you posted maybe yesterday. Mm-hmm. How has it been raising him, right, as a mother, showing that you're a strong woman, entrepreneur, right? And he's watching you do this like in real life. How does that feel for you to be able to be a great example for him and raise him as a young man?
I mean, of course, I want to say all these touchy-feely things, but he's terrible. He's terrible human. Now, it's a little bit of both. I think he knows how to take advantage of me because he knows I'm working.
Yeah,
so he knows ask me for everything and anything, and right. Especially when I got a video call or something. But right. No, I think overall, I think the one of my greatest accomplishments is just the fact that my son can know that he can be an employer and not an employee. Wow. And I think that's definitely just something that overall I'm really proud of. I think I was raised to be an employee. I had no idea what it was like or what it would be like to own my own company. So the fact that my son, now has the opportunity to be anything that he wants to be in this world, I think is just truly amazing. And I think I remind him that on a daily basis, like you could be whatever you want to be, however you want to be. And he's starting to learn business stuff. Like he'll, say certain words, ask me about like, even profit and loss or like contracts or things like that. And so, and I think that the one thing I would say, it is amazing. Like, his friends, they ask like, well, what's your mom do? And, the fact that he can always be like, well, I'm at the shop. I'm at my mom's shop. And, and he's like, yeah, no, she owns this company. Like she doesn't work for anybody. And, so stuff like that really makes me happy that he can say that with pride.
I think that's amazing. I love it. And just, kudos to you for everything that you're doing. And like I said, I know, you handling it, you being a business person and being mom. I know it's probably a lot that you're juggling, but I just think that it's amazing that you're setting that example. And, I think that's going to probably put him on a great trajectory as he grows into himself. So I think that's dope. So real quick, Kalilah, I just wanted to another one. I appreciate y'all, man. Appreciation and gratitude. I thank you for the super chat. Customer Mojo, love the value in conversations. I appreciate you as well. And then for real said, thanks for dropping those gems. Thank Kalilah for dropping those gems. Real quick, I want to go ahead to this quick video, quick commercial break, and then we're going to come right back. All right, 1 second. All right, everybody, we back. So that was a quick commercial from RBY Prints. If you're looking for somebody to print your shirts, to make sure you have quality print, quality products, make sure you reach out to RBY Prints. They do screen printing, they do DTG, print on demand, and they can fulfill all your printing needs. So make sure you check out rbyprints.com. So Kalilah, you all in the magazines. You all over the place. I done seen big events. Your name is ringing all over the place. This PR stuff that you're doing, how does that work, right? How are you, growing and putting your brand in the light, putting your name in the light? How do you garner these opportunities that you've done over time?
All organic. Like we don't pitch. We haven't pitched for anything. I mean, I would say too, like, again, I come from, like 4 or 5 years ago when I first started, everybody was going to like these women empowerment conferences. They were, and so that's what I did. I went to these conferences. I put, I would wear my jacket. I would wear messages and shirts, and I would give people, in the audience, some of this stuff. And so, if I was grinding, I was on my own street team for, a couple years. And, it just so happened now, again, those people that were in the audience are now, in boardrooms. They're now on these, whatever companies, like they're in the rooms, that I wanted to be in and things like that. So, whenever conversations come up, the first thing people say is like, oh, what about Mess in a Bottle? Word. So I think that, like all organically, we do our Facebook ads, we do our, our social ads, but for the most part, all of these have come from an organic place.
Oh, that's amazing. Like I just, as I was before the interview and I was researching, I just typed in Kalilah Wright, Mess in a Bottle, and I got articles and all stuff everywhere. Plus we got commercials and stuff like that. So, congratulations on all that success.
Thank you.
Over time, what is your favorite way of marketing? I mean, I know that it's probably developed over time, but how have you found ways to really, the most effective ways to really get your brand out there so people can know about it and buy into it?
I mean, I really do enjoy ads. I think that ads are good, and it gives me, as the brand owner, creative control to sort of see, like, well, what am I going to create to have people, sort of see the things that I want to give to them, like what new products and, so, and I think we could drive the conversation a lot more when we create our own advertisement. So, so I think ads have been really good for us.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Well, Kalilah, what advice would you have for the person who's just starting a brand? They're at the very beginning stages and they're like, you know what? I want to take my brand to the next level. I'm just trying to figure it out and figure out how to get some traction. What are some things that they can do at that very beginning stage that could help them along their journey?
I would just say, one, documenting the process, and these other areas would definitely help, like everything that you sort of do. Having a strong brand identity also, sort of figuring out like who you are as a brand. Because I think what happens at the beginning too is like, if you don't have a strong brand identity, you could get pulled all over the place. So I think those two things are like two of the top, as well as, I would just say, bootstrap and grind and do what keep on creating your own noise. And that's something that I also did.
I love that. I love that. Those are some great gems. Everybody make sure y'all pick those up and take them into consideration. And so one of the last questions that I want to ask you, Kalilah, is what do you feel like is your purpose in the world? Why are you here and what's your message? What is your message?
So my purpose in the world is definitely to show people that whatever they really think or envision for themselves, like they can have and they can do. It's just no matter how old, no matter how young, I do think it's one of those things where like believing in yourself can get you a long way. And I think I really help people to like live fearless. Right. And to really just, follow your dreams. I'm like, it's really just that simple. It's like one of the most difficult things to do, but it's probably one of the easiest as well, to just trust yourself and to follow your dreams.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. I appreciate you sharing that. And last question I have for you. What's your favorite shirt?
That I have, my shirt?
That you've created, yeah.
Ooh, it's my favorite. I'm always torn, but I don't know. I gotta say, a Black woman created this.
I love it.
Yeah, because that's me.
Okay, I love it. I love it. That's dope. So, look, Kalilah, I'm not gonna hold you up anymore. This has been an amazing conversation. It's been so inspirational. As I've been going through the comments and just looking what people have put, they're so happy to hear from you. And I thank you for sharing your time with us and just really talking about your story and your journey, your experiences. For everybody watching, I know that they're going to probably watch a few times just to go back and hear, right, to see these gems that they can take in and implement in their own businesses. But for the people who want to follow you, for the people who want to know more about you, where can they find you at on social media? How can they get in contact?
So we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Mess in a Bottle. And then, of course, shop our site, messinabottle.com. And we have our t-shirt classes kicking off And they are the tclass.com. So I'll be sort of teaching all of this stuff that I know.
I love it. So y'all make sure y'all go ahead, especially the T class, her classes. If y'all want to know the stuff that Kalilah knows, go ahead and get involved and make sure like her group is on fire, like her T class group on Facebook. Y'all need to make sure y'all go ahead and join that. So Kalilah, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much, Queen. Thank you for sharing everything. It's been a pleasure, and we'll definitely be in touch. All right.
All right. Thanks, Charles.
Absolutely. See you. All right. And another one. And another one. I hope that y'all enjoyed that, man. That was amazing. I truly appreciate Kalilah for sharing. Like I told her, for me personally, you know, from afar, she's been a mentor for me. Just be able to watch her journey and see what she's built, right? And see her transparency and her realness and all the things that she's achieved. I think it's absolutely amazing. And so I'm extremely grateful. I hope that you all found a lot of value from this. Make sure, like I say every single time, that you go back, that you listen. If you want to learn some more gems from Kalilah, make sure that you go to the tclass.com. If you want to go shop with Kalilah, make sure you go to messinabottle.com and just follow her journey, right? Because you following is going to help you take things to the next level. So with that being said, I truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, supporting, for all the positive comments. If you found value in this, share it with your mama, your grandmama, your husband, your wife, your old lady, whatever it is. Make sure you share it and put it out there. And all I'm going to keep doing is trying to bring the best people on this show to add value and help us take our brands to the next level. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to leave it at that. As I always end it, remember, if you can see it in your mind's eye, one day you're going to be able to see it with your real eyes. Peace, man. I truly appreciate every single one of y'all. We'll talk soon on the next one.